My great-aunt Elara always said the stones remembered, not just the big, carved ones in the fields near her remote cottage, but every pebble, every grain of earth. She lived in a corner of the world that time seemed to have forgotten, a place where the air itself felt heavy with untold stories. I used to visit her every summer as a child, enchanted by her tales of the winding way and the old people who built the great cairns. But as I grew older, I dismissed it all as quaint folklore, the ramblings of an old woman clinging to archaic beliefs. The truth, I learned too late, was far more substantial than any campfire story. It was etched into the very landscape, a warning I foolishly ignored, drawn in by a curiosity that clawed at me like a hungry animal. I returned to Elara's cottage years after she passed, tasked with clearing out her belongings. The village of Greyfell, nestled in a valley that seemed to defy modern mapping, hadn't changed a bit. The same few faces in the general store, the same quiet suspicion in their eyes as they watched outsiders. The old cottage, however, felt different. It was colder, somehow emptier, yet also teeming with an unseen presence. Among her clutter, I found it, a small, intricately carved stone, no bigger than my palm. It was dark, almost black, with strange, swirling patterns that seemed to shift and writhe in the dim light. I'd never seen anything like it among her usual trinkets. It felt unnaturally heavy, radiating a faint, almost imperceptible warmth. I asked around Greyfell about the stone. The few villagers I managed to corner either clammed up entirely or offered vague, unsettling warnings. "That's Elara's stone," one old man mumbled, eyes wide with a fear I couldn't comprehend. "She knew better than to bring it out." Another woman, her face like a roadmap of wrinkles, simply said, "The winding way has its prices, boy. Best leave what's not yours." Their reactions only fueled my academic curiosity. This wasn't just a quirky village superstition. There was a real, palpable dread associated with the object. I started researching, digging through Elara's old journals, faded maps, and obscure texts. The common thread was always the winding way, a path that led to the tallest, oldest cairn in the valley, a place universally avoided by the locals. Elara's journal spoke of the cairn as the heart of the valley, a place of immense power where the veil between worlds was thin. She wrote of ancient rituals, of offerings made to keep the stillness, and cryptic warnings about waking what sleeps. The carved stone, she noted, was a ward, a small piece broken from the main cairn centuries ago, meant to protect its bearer from the cairn's influence, but also to bind them to its silent vigil. I scoffed at the archaic language, but my interest was piqued. I decided I had to see the cairn for myself. The winding way, as described in her map, was a barely discernible track leading deep into the furthest, most overgrown part of the valley. The air grew colder the deeper I walked, and the silence became absolute, save for the crunch of my boots on dead leaves. Finally, the trees thinned, and I saw it. The cairn. It wasn't merely a pile of stones, it was a hulking, conical mound, easily 30 feet high, made of dark, immortared rocks. It radiated an ancient, almost magnetic energy. Strange, weathered symbols were etched into the larger stones at its base, the same swirling patterns as on the smaller stone I carried. As I approached, a low, almost infrasonic hum vibrated through the ground and up into my bones. The air around it was unnervingly still. Not a single leaf stirred on the sparse, twisted trees that ringed it. I felt a sudden, inexplicable urge to touch it, to place the small stone back where it belonged. It felt like coming home. A part of me I hadn't known was missing. My hand, guided by an impulse I didn't recognize as my own, reached for the cairn. As my fingers brushed against the rough, cold stone, the hum intensified, vibrating through my entire body. I pulled the small carved stone from my pocket. It pulsed with a soft, internal light now, the swirling patterns on its surface seeming to deepen, to gain dimension. I found a small indentation, a near-perfect match for its shape, on one of the larger base stones. As I pressed it into place, a jolt, not of electricity but of pure, ancient energy, shot through me. The hum ceased. Instead, there was a profound silence, deeper and more absolute than before. The air grew heavy, like a vast, unseen weight pressing down on the entire valley. I felt a sudden, overwhelming emptiness where my curiosity had been. A strange sense of peace settled over me, a feeling of belonging to this place, to these stones. But it wasn't a comforting peace. It was cold, vast, and devoid of individual thought. It was the peace of a sentinel, of a guardian. I looked around the valley, and the world seemed to sharpen, to gain new definition. I saw the network of underground rivers, felt the slow, patient growth of the ancient roots beneath the soil. I understood the language of the wind as it whispered through the leaves. I was no longer merely observing. I was connected, intertwined with the very fabric of Greyfell, an extension of the cairn's ancient awareness. And the truth dawned on me with chilling clarity. Ilara hadn't just known about the stones, she had been a part of them. The small stone wasn't a ward asterisk against asterisk the cairn's influence, but a ward asterisk for asterisk it, binding its bearer to its timeless purpose. She had been the valley's keeper, one of a long line, and now, by replacing the piece, I had become the next. My great-aunt Ilara's warnings weren't about what asterisk might asterisk happen, but about what asterisk would asterisk happen to anyone foolish enough to meddle. The villagers' fear wasn't of the cairn itself, but of those it claimed, those who became the valley's silent guardians. I still stand here, watching the changing seasons, feeling the slow pulse of the earth beneath the stones. My body is still mine, but my mind, my essence, is no longer truly my own. It is part of the cairn now, a timeless consciousness, watching, waiting, keeping the stillness. And I will remain here, a part of the winding way, until someone else, driven by their own fatal curiosity, finally takes my place. Thank you for listening. If this story found you in the dark, subscribe and turn on notifications. A new tale waits every night.